This meeting of the Gilchrist County Commissioners to order. It's April 21st at 4 o'clock. Appreciate everybody coming. I've asked Commissioner Bill Martin to lead our prayer today, and I've asked Commissioner Smith to lead us in the flag. So if you'll silence your phone, we'll get started.
All right, God is good. We just had a great Easter season and looking forward to a good year. Pray with me, pal. Dear Lord, we just come to you and we want to thank you. We want to thank you for the beautiful weather we've had. We want to thank you for this county that we live in and the United States in which we live. We want to thank you for dying on the cross and rising again and forgiving us of our sins, dear Lord. Now, we come to you and we ask that you give us wisdom as we go into this meeting, that you direct us in the way that would be pleasing unto you and best for this county, dear Lord, to keep moving in the right direction. We ask, dear Lord, that you be with those that have lost loved ones around this season and over this last year. Be with them, comfort them, and just give them only the comfort that you can. We also ask, dear Lord, that you continue to watch over our first responders, our police, all those that are in service for the people of this county, and our military that are in service of keeping us safe and keeping us free. Now go with us as we continue this meeting. We ask all this in your wonderful name, dear Lord. Amen.
Amen. Address the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, just as a note, we did have a little bit of a technical difficulty on our recorder that missed the first probably 30 seconds of the meeting, just as a note.
You want to
Do I need to say
make a note that he started it?
I think we can probably, we have a note on the thing when we actually started, but like I say, just as a, if we go back, we'll know there was a reason why it was a little bit of a delay.
I need to just move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, has everyone had an opportunity to look at the agenda? Any agenda changes?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Nobody? Okay, do I have a motion to it?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Sharon Lampert and a second from Commissioner Darrell Smith to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Everyone have an opportunity to look at the consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion for Commissioner Thomas and a second from Commissioner Martin to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. Okay, this is an opportunity for public participation. Is there anybody that would like to address the board at this time? You'll have an opportunity now and you'll have one at the end of the meeting. Anybody want to address the board? Okay, I see nobody. Any constitutional officers? I see none. We'll go to county administrator.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Today, my agenda starts on item number 6, solid waste. There's some property that came for sale right behind our solid waste facility that actually joins up to that facility. Mr. Newton actually happened to see this, and he brought it to my attention. So we're looking at it and considering how solid waste is growing and the amount is growing, and this property being attached to our current property. We just want to have a conversation about it. It's 48 acres to see if the board would be interested in looking towards purchasing that 48 acres. We wouldn't need it all at this time, but as you know, the county's continuing to grow, and eventually they probably could use this property for different things. It does have roughly 34 acres of pines on it. What pine trees that could not need to be disturbed could possibly sold in a number of years when it's time to harvest them. There may be some options for pine straw as well. It'd just be things you'd have to pursue. If you'll notice, there's pretty good buffering around the property also, so we have buffering. It would have to be rezoned. It'd have to come before the board to be rezoned for public use due to it being a, facility of solid waste, and we would be using it as a public use. The, ingress egress would still come through our current facility. We would just have to change that road and move around it. I would need to actually work with the engineering on that. We haven't, I spoke to the engineer about it, but we haven't looked at a lot because it really depends on, how the board would like us to consider moving forward. We did look at it enough to know that it is a conforming lot that you could put a facility on as far as, those requirements once it's rezoned. So that's kind of a quick summary of it. But the property line adjoins our property line on the rear of our current solid waste facility, all the way across behind our animal control as well too.
The whole entire length of the property we currently have is intact there. Wasn't able to see the land around it, so I'm
I
not
think it'd
sure.
be on the
I
southwest.
think that is
corner.
correct. It might be yes, that is correct, because there's actually an ingress egress that goes right up to 20th.
If you go to page 7 of the flyer, you can kind of see what,
Yes, you can see it. I knew it was there. Where's mine?
the piece to the north of it is the solid waste property.
So Bobby, the idea would be, that's where you'd build the new collection facility.
I'm sorry, I can't find my pen, but if, of the screen, if you look directly behind you, which you can see it on yours too, yes, it would be. Actually, that, all the way to my right where the red line is, if you see that little row right there, that's some of our equipment on our solid waste facility now. Just some older dumpsters and all. So it comes up and comes all the way across. Animal control would be just to the left of that second yellow line going to the left, and then that's that property. So yes, and I'm sorry, Mr. Smith.
It would just be, instead of building the new, collection facility where, say, the animal control is, you'd use 5 acres of this, whatever. We're not talking about a big landfill facility or anything. It's basically a collection, and it'd be not bigger, much bigger than what we've got. It'd be hauled to Union County after that.
That is
'Cause I
correct.
think some of the landowners around there would be concerned about us doing more than.
You only have a few landowners. I mean, well, you got multiple landowners, but yes, but all we would do, we'd have the same facility that now, it'd just be a little bit larger. And, the proudest thing I am about our trash here is all of it leaves. All we do is bring it in, we load it, and we haul it to another facility. So we don't have any of that we're trying to maintain or deal with environmental issues in Gilchrist County with. So, and we would want to keep it that as a transfer station, not a dump site for C&D or any other type.
Not landfill or nothing like that. I asked one of the landowners around there, and that was his main question was, what kind of environmental safety measures? And I guarantee you, anything you build is gonna have to be up to a high standard to protect water and whatever else you do.
We would have nothing different than what we have now, except it'd be a larger facility to help handle the trash better. One of the things that Mr. Rush and I were talking some today, and, this time, I think it was in 2017, in 1 week, he had, let me find my note right here. 49 tickets in a whole week. 49 people come across the scales. This week, an equivalent, 1 year late, and this year here, the same week, 312. So they're having more each day than they were having in a complete week. So that tells you we've got 5 times more trash than we did have coming in. But we are transferring it out. We want to continue to transfer
But
it out.
the other thought, I was gonna save this till the end, but since we're on it, Mr. Rush had compared our cost per person, to some surrounding counties, Dixie and Levy, and, we're at $68 roughly per person to operate our facility. They're at
$239 per resident. Dixie County is pretty well similar. It's at the 231 per resident, so we're way more efficient. Our group, Bobby Rush and you, Bobby, I think are really a big reason for that. I mean, we appreciate what y'all are doing along those lines.
What worries me, is that if we don't buy it, who's gonna buy it? You know,
Well, and,
don't be your neighbor.
well, also another thing we gotta consider is, 10 years, 20, 30 years down the road, then that little piece we have right now, that's not gonna be,
Not gonna be.
it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be enough to even expand further one day. And I don't know, how hard it is to, try to relocate something like that in the county when it's already right there.
What's the price on it?
The current advertised price is $399,000 for 48.06 acres. Which, we don't have an appraisal. The gentleman may have an appraisal that we can get from him. We would need to get an appraisal. Based on some of the sales that I've been seeing for land recently, it looks right in the market. I think that's right around $8,300 an acre. Trees are roughly a year to 2 years old on it. So it's right in the ballpark. I did look at Mr. Leggett's website, and normally when they put property online, it's usually at about 80% of whatever the value was kind of when they appraised it. So if you kind of use his, it's around 350 is what the price would be, but I don't know how old his Mr. Leggett's appraisal value is on that property either, so.
If we want it, we better get it, because it ain't gonna last long.
No.
I wonder if it's negotiable. I mean, if he
Well,
make an offer.
I really don't know. This is owned by a large timber company out in Nevada. I don't think they need money,
Yeah.
but I think it may just be that they've got a piece of land way over here that it's just, you gotta have somebody to try to manage. I couldn't find where they had a lot of land, so to try to manage 50 acres,
Yeah.
way away from a lot of your other
How,
property.
how hard is it gonna be to change the zoning on that?
A 3-2 vote,
Okay.
but,
Yeah, that's
but
not.
I think it'll be pretty easy because you already have use. Our current property we have there is public use, so you have a connecting use.
Is that a dog leg up on the left corner that goes to that other road? Is that there so that if we needed entrance to that piece of property off of a different way, you could put a entrance in there? Is that what that?
That is actually the interest of that property at this time.
Okay.
And that's down, I wouldn't recommend taking our equipment up and down that dirt road
No,
all the
but
time. But that's where that's for. That's so that you do have an ingress egress right there
Okay.
for that property. So,
Also, we had paid, we'd already agreed with the engineer and come up with a price of him engineering, putting it somewhere different. Has he started and we're gonna have to completely start over with the?
we're not going to have to completely start over, but there has been some work done. Mr. Locklear, Mike can comment more on how much he did of work he's gotten done, but we found out about this a couple of weeks ago, so I kind of reached out to him and.
Yeah, we just approved an invoice for some of your work, right?
Yes.
On the
sir.
consent agenda.
We have done the survey, which if you recall, what the board approved was a phased approach, and the first phase was the survey, geotech, and a conceptual layout. We haven't done the geotech, we're waiting on the survey to come back before we do geotech, so that's the only component that we've already completed, which obviously, if you choose to move it, we'd have to survey a new area as well, but that's the extent of what we've done thus far.
So if we bought this, we would make sure it was buildable and make sure we could change it before we
Yes, ma'am.
buy it.
Yes, ma'am. We would, I spoke with, Mr. Locklear and he did a quick, LiDAR of the property. So that was fine. That part was fine, before we even brought it to you, because if we knew we couldn't use it, we didn't want to even bring it. I also reached out to, North Florida Professionals, I can't remember if Jason or Brandon helped me with that. Might have been Jason that helped me with that at North Florida Professionals. But he said it would have to be rezoned to public use, and that would be, bring it to y'all. But the good thing is I know Mr. Lang and they've talked in the past about spot zoning. Since we already have a piece there that is public use that adjoins it, we won't be spot zoning. We'll just be, continuing that on.
So
That's
Bobby,
all high and dry.
yeah, the soils would be pretty similar to what we've got at animal control. If the board was in favor of moving forward, how would the process work? We would make an offer, or how long would it? I want to get, some public input on landowners
Okay.
around there for sure. So we would have some process to do that, right?
Yeah, I can address that, Mr. Smith. Florida statutes 125.355, proposed purchase of real property by the county. What you're gonna do, any purchase of property by the county has to serve a public purpose, which I think that would be clearly justifiable in this situation since it adjoins our existing, landfill operation. But you'd need to get an appraisal. You'd then, want to do an option contract. That's required by the statute. The county, shall not be under any obligation to exercise the option unless the option contract is approved by the governing body at a public hearing, for that matter. So you get an appraisal, you'd make an offer, we'd reduce that to an option contract, we provide that to the owner, and then we'd advertise a public hearing.
And then for some reason at the public hearing, it didn't pass, then we wouldn't have to pay
That's what
for
the
it.
option's
Okay.
for.
Yeah,
You have the option to, proceed or stop.
okay, making sure.
And the money would come out of the fund balance,
Mhm.
about $400,000.
You could technically use, the capital improvement funds that you've already budgeted for this project, though.
Well, I think it's, would be not wise to pass it up. It's not, next person who buys it probably ain't gonna turn around and sell it for the same thing he's selling it for, cause he's gonna want more money, if he ever does want to sell it. And with planted pines on it, it will be worth some money and hay and pine straw and timber in the future. At least I hope so, cause I put some pines in myself and I hope they're worth money in the future. So, I think it's a smart idea. And seeing that we're not making a landfill out of it, we're just making a transfer station. If it was a landfill, it'd be a different situation, but, I think it would be very smart to move forward and look at purchasing it as long as we don't have any great opposition from people.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to
around.
some of the landowners also.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move forward on, purchasing this property.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Martin and a second from Commissioner Thomas to, instruct the county administrator to move forward on, purchasing the 48 acres.
Would that also include authorizing him to go ahead and have an appraisal done so that you would have that in hand? Your motion?
Yeah.
But, and what I'd like to say, I'll work with Mr. Lang and Mr. New, we'll go ahead and we'll get appraisal, we'll get a draft contract if the appraisal comes back correctly, and a draft contract so that y'all can see that contract and be able to see the conditions of the contract. Because I do feel like with this land, you never know, but the way things have been selling, we can't move too fast. We gotta do our due diligence the way we're supposed to, but we also can't just sit back and drag our feet and.
How long has it been on the market, Bobby?
About 2 weeks, I think.
It's about 2 weeks now.
About 2 weeks.
Well, my thought is if we don't purchase it, this next build we're gonna be bulging at the seams on the property we've got. If we build that transfer station on the property we currently own, and there will be no room for expansion then.
Well, in the future, you're gonna have to expand solid waste again.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
Be
to,
a way to do
you're gonna
it.
have to expand animal control.
Mhm.
And there's really there's other departments that may need to expand as well, and we need a location. So, you're looking at a pretty good piece of land here, and you're correct, that timber does what it's supposed to, and pine straw continues the way it does. And, you know, it's a market. You gotta hit the market when it's good or wait. This is almost an investment. Eventually, you would get your return back on what you're putting in here. And just with the convenience of where it is, we already can keep the same entrance coming in, just create some pavement and get us back there to it.
So, go ahead.
I'm a negotiator. I would like to make them an offer. I mean, I don't want to just say, okay, you name the price, we'll pay it. I'd like to make them an offer of some kind and maybe let the realtor.
Well,
if
you
he's
can
got it-
certainly do that, but you need that appraisal. and-
That's
Yeah,
what-
yeah, yeah. I'm saying at one point in time,
Yes.
that we don't just, jump on it because they put it up for sale, but we negotiate with them. And if they're a big company and they don't have no use for the land, or they're downsizing, changing things, like Lon Callis went through some transition here lately, maybe they'll give us a better offer to find out who the buyer is.
Well, I certainly want them to get the best offer when they move forward on it, but,
Appraisal comes first.
yeah.
So who would do the appraisal?
I'm gonna actually reach out and see if maybe they've possibly done an appraisal by a certified appraiser, and we can get it. If not, could this be a commercial appraisal?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it'd be a commercial appraiser. I'm not sure.
Our appraisers are residential appraisers.
The last time we had to go out, reach out to a commercial appraiser, that was in Marion County. I can't remember the name of that firm. That was when
I
we
have a
were at the
couple names as
BFW.
well.
You did? Okay. I don't know if we have anybody local that can do a commercial appraisal.
Brad Smith don't do commercial.
Resident,
But
nor does Dean, unless he's changed.
Yes, sir.
If I might add, it sounds like you already kind of know where you're going with this, but in addition to the expansion opportunities that you've already highlighted, this additional space and geometry help us in traffic management and safety, where we can segregate mom and pop and haul trailers a little better. As you know, the two parcels where it exists now and where we're looking at on are very narrow. So our options for how we're gonna lay it out are pretty limited, whereas with this, it's not the case. So if that factors into your decision for someone.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor. The motion is to, approve the county administrator, move forward on the purchase, and approving, the cost of an appraisal. And, a second by Commissioner Thomas.
So can I ask real quick, kind of related to your comment, Tommy? I agree, but I guess the appraisal is gonna determine what value. After that, then we propose an option to purchase at the appraised value.
Or whatever you decide.
You know,
Okay.
you may or may not even have the appraisal by the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, so that, we've got time, that's what
but-
I'm mainly thinking.
There may be a possibility that we can enter into a contract on this property based on the appraisal, based on the zoning. So at least we're not obligated to buy it, but we do have it obligated to give us a chance to do all the necessary things we need to do. And once you get that appraisal, you know, then you can work forward with your options or whatever.
I wonder if Mr. Locklear, would you suggest, that a contract be subject to any kind of testing that needs to be done for what we're looking at doing?
I mean, if you could, for the geotechnical component, to make sure it can support just what we're doing right now, or we're about to do, that would be prudent, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not expecting it to be any different geologically, but it would sure be nice to have that report in the end, that it's gonna support what we wanna build on, I'm sure.
Would we need to instruct you to slow down on the other project?
I'm already slow.
We
down.
already did that.
We had that conversation already, so
Okay.
I'm on pause until you tell me what it is.
Okay, that's good.
That's what I was worried about, is how far have we gotten into this other?
Well, I told him I have no idea where what we'll come out with y'all's direction. But until we get that direction, let's just kind of wait and see,
Yeah.
because it was really a good spot to pause at.
Good idea.
You know, so.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank y'all very
Motion
much.
passed. We have a time certain for 4:15.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Duke,
Let
you
me,
gonna handle that?
Yeah, get once. That's Mr. Doug before you do.
Yeah, hold on, I'm gonna read a couple of rules here. Mr. Chairman, this is, an application that Mr. Doug McCoy is going to be presenting, a petition. But this is a quasi judicial hearing because it's site specific. Therefore, at the conclusion of the hearing, the board will render a decision on the requested action. The board decision has to be based upon substantial competent evidence. Mere opinion is not substantial competent evidence. The chair, commission members, party, or staff can raise an objection to irrelevant or immaterial testimony or evidence, or testimony that's unduly cumulative or repetitious of previously presented testimony. At this time, if any board member has had any ex parte or outside contact with the applicant or members of the public on the matter before you, you should disclose that now on the record to remove any presumption of prejudice.
Yeah, I've only had a call from one of the realtors that was interested in whether this was scheduled or not, and that's basically the extent of that
Okay.
conversation.
I've had none.
I haven't had any.
Do, are there any other, disclosures of ex parte communication? That was a local realtor, Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
If any board member has any sort of conflict of interest in the matter, you need to disclose that conflict on the record and file a memorandum of conflict form 8B with the clerk. Okay, hearing none, we'll let, Mr. McCoy, present, his petition, followed by questions from the board. Then there can be time for rebuttal if you have any questions, public input, and the board will render a decision on the petition before you. Okay.
Hey guys, Doug McCoy here, representing Miss Kathy King Young, the current owner of the property. I think the survey is the important part. It just reveals the situation, as Mr. Smith alluded. The survey was a result of a real estate contract that was not able to close because the survey revealed that the mobile home placed there years ago, not by Miss Young, but by a previous owner, straddles the back of the lots in two different plats, both out in Sun and Fun. So it goes across the back line of Lot 6, Block 10 of Sun and Fun Unit 1, and also the rear line of lots 11 and 12, Block 4, Sun and Fun Unit 2. And both of those plats show a utility easement of 7.5 feet along the rear lot lines. Now, it's like there's so many times true with these subdivisions that were done, in that era, the actual utility companies didn't use the utility easements that were provided for them. And so the utility lines are along the street side out front, and everybody can see them, they're overhead. And so, I can understand how it happened. It's unfortunate, but they came in there and they owned all the lots. There's 3 lots. They joined up, they just put the mobile home in the center, and everybody's locked on for 25 years.
Yeah.
And so now, we get a survey and it shows this. And so I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think anybody will be in any way prejudiced by the closing of it. Everybody up and down there are certain parcels that already have their dwellings, and you can easily see where the power lines are.
No impact on anybody else?
Not that we can tell, just clearly kind of goes down the 2 streets. So the street,
Doug, can we put your survey up on the screen?
Yeah,
It might be helpful for you as well. Your petition's up there, but there's the survey that, Mr. McCoy provided.
So
If you can
it's
blow
just a
that up.
utility easement, not a road or anything, just an easement?
Just the utility easement, yeah, her mobile home sits right there, and you can see, well, let's look back here.
You have
And
a
you can
corner?
see that 7.5 PUE,
Yeah.
and another 7.5 PUE running, the
Sure.
stripe running right through the end of, right there, yeah.
Okay.
That's just been under her mobile home all these years. There's a street, right there to her west, and then there's a
Up and
street,
down.
to the south of her property that has power lines running across it, that's 78th Place. And then there's also power lines up on 77th Lane up there. So all the utilities are coming in from the street side, not this alley that was provided by the.
And she owns all 3 of these lots?
She owns all 3 of them.
6, 4?
Yeah, lots 10 of Block 6.
That's right, 10, 11, and 12.
11 and 12. And you see, unfortunately, the surveyor reversed the unit number, and I put a hand note there, but we got that shared later, but I had
Yeah.
already turned in the.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like, a drive, where somebody drove, because I know last time, we stated anytime we do close like roads, we're going to send out letters to notify people.
Right.
So as long as it's just an easement, then a utility easement, and not a drive easement, then I'm
That's
okay
all.
with
If-
it.
If we scroll a little further, there may be a better picture of the whole. Yeah, that's kind of it there. Okay, so you see that one is for lots 11 and 12 up on the far top left corner. Yeah, right there by the sky. So down below that is the street. That's 78th Place running all across there. So all the access is still good, every lot. And if you scroll up one, yeah, so there's lot 6. It has its own access also northerly of it, so.
So it's basically a recorded utility easement that's never been used.
A platted utility easement
That's never been used,
It's
okay.
never recorded anywhere except on the plat.
On the plat,
That's
okay.
approved by the county, but everybody that buys in a subdivision has a right to rely on those plats to be accurate. So anytime this happens, we have to come back. And, I think it would be the clerk making a notation on the plat. So anybody that looks it up in the future, whether in the clerk's office or in the property appraiser's office, there'd be a note, utility easement vacated. And so we won't be vacating it down the way as to all the other lots. But it won't matter. It'll be as if you did, because there's nothing coming in there at this point anyway. All of it's kind of, I mean, I don't see, I can't completely predict the future, but, electricity and cable and that kind of stuff is certainly not coming that way. And I don't ever see that being sewer and that kind of.
So basically there won't be no land transactions. It'll just be an easement vacated.
It'll be an easement vacated such that the new purchaser can get a clearer survey and not that survey encroachment that won't let their lender loan them the money to borrow to buy the deal, because technically it sits on.
Any negative, Mr. Lang, or issue?
None that I see. I would point out, though, that, Mr. McCoy was required by the statute to publish this, which he did in the Levy County Citizen on, April 11th and April the 18th. And also, if the board chooses to approve this, then it'll be required. He needs to attach a copy of that proof of publication to the petition that was filed. He's furnished that, but I don't know if it's actually made part of the petition. It'll go in your records. And also, a certified copy of the resolution has to be, recorded in the official records of Gilchrist County.
Exactly. Yes, sir. I'm aware of that.
I don't think-
That's all I have.
So we need a motion then to approve the resolution?
You need a motion, you might want to call for public comment
Yes, sir.
before you make the motion.
Any comment?
Okay. Is there any public comment? This is resolution number 2025-11.
Let's read the
Yeah, I was
resolution.
gonna say you need to at least read it, and let them know what it is.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 2025-11 is a petition to vacate, abandon, and discontinue the utility easement over, under, and across the southerly 7.5 feet of Lot 6, Block 10 of Sun and Fun Subdivision, Unit Number 1, Plat Book 1, page 46, and the northerly 7.5 feet of Lots 11 and 12, Block 4 of Sun and Fun Subdivision, Unit Number 2, Plat Book 1, page 47, in Gilchrist County, Florida. And that's reading by title only, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion that we approve resolution number 2025-11?
So moved, move to approve resolution 2025-11.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number 2025-11. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir.
Have a good meeting.
Okay, we had another time certain at 4:30.
Yes, sir. Mr. Robert Wells had reached out to us from the Gilchrist County Prevention Coalition, and he would like to be able to make a presentation to the board. Mr. Wells?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Thank y'all for allowing us to come. What I'd like to do is go briefly, I have a brief slide presentation here, go through some slides, just to kind of update you guys on what we've been doing. We actually, the Prevention Coalition has been in existence now for about 8 years. And we've been every school in the county for the last 6 years.
Thank you.
And so, I brought some of my ambassadors with me. They're gonna kind of talk a little bit about their experience. And these booklets that we're handing out, these booklets are done by a young, mentee of mine.
Thank you,
Young
ma'am.
lady that works at the school, but she wants to get into media production. So I work with her to produce these books.
I talked to you at some of the events at Bell several times. I talked to you.
So we're quickly gonna go through the slides about what we do and who we are. We're dedicated to promoting a healthier, more productive Gilchrist County. So that includes the entire county. We don't just work with kids. Here's our list of our executive board directors, most of these, whom I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. That's who I actually report to, that board of directors. They kind of keep me in line and make sure I'm doing what I should be doing. Our mission statement, collaboration of community partners and residents who are dedicated to prevention, education, empowerment through services, resources, and support. And we'll talk about what some of those services, resources, and support are. To foster and enhance the Gilchrist County for all residents are supported with our mission. Here are the 12, 14 sectors of people that we should have represented on our board or part of our coalition. We have someone from each one of those sectors currently. We have people from the faith, law enforcement, because Captain Brown is actually our chair. Business owners, we have Bobby Crosby is listed as for our state and local Chicago, and he comes and does whatever he can to support us, so we appreciate that. Some of our current programs, and this is where I'm gonna let Ms. Riley talk a little bit about our Friday night gun right.
Good morning, County Commissioners. I'm Riley Day, and this is Lily Shaw. I've worked with Mr. Wells for about 5 years now, ever since I was in sixth grade. I've been here for about 2 years since my sixth grade. Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about Friday Night Gun Right. Friday Night Gun Right is a regular hosted event that is designed to illustrate teenagers and the existing possibilities of enjoying themselves without the need of drugs or alcohol or other addictive substances. The primary purpose of this initiative is to convey a genuine fun and social connection that can thrive independently of substance use. We have multiple and fun games that we put up that allow students to come and see better ways to initiate themselves in the world, to find better ways than being part of drug and alcohol abuse. Do you remember things from Friday Night Gun Rights? I do. And one of the things was the beanbag toss. We use our own strategies and our own strength to figure out how to reach to the whole or the goal, along with a game where you hit the bird. It's always a way to figure out how far you can go and how fun it can be. I would like to introduce you guys to a story of whenever I first found out about Friday Night Gun Rights. It was my sixth grade year, and I had no idea what Friday Night Gun Rights were. And this is part of being an ambassador, is leadership. So one day, Mr. Wells came in talking about what Friday Night Gun Right was, is to initiate kids from away from drug and alcohol use. And he started giving out tasks to all the different groups, but he skipped over his sixth graders. Never knew why. Never knew why. So I raised up my hand. I was like, "Oh, Mr. Wells, what can we do? What can we do to foster and help our community?" And he looks at me and he goes, "You know what? How about you go get the games?" And I'm like, "You?" And he's like, "No, and since you asked, you're in charge of it." Let me tell you, I've never been in charge of it. And I was distraught. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. And I tried doing everything possible. You go get this, you go get that. And we were sending kids everywhere. We didn't know exactly what to do with the kids. We were for the kids, people who couldn't even see them, who didn't even have games. And I went to Mr. Wells and I was like, what do? I don't know what to do. And he gave me a very important lesson that day. A true leader and a true ambassador, they don't just tell people what they do, they lead. He told me to look at the different people and their perspectives and what they're able to do and what classes they're in. And let me tell you, Friday Night Live is amazing, and I've been part of them ever since.
Great.
Very good.
Are these Friday nights done in Gilchrist County? Or are they done in just surrounding counties, or?
I think they're done mostly everywhere. I think Bell's had them. I think Dixie's also had them, but Mr. Wells was the one that implemented them here.
All right.
Yeah, we do primarily in Gilchrist County, but, I have, the pleasure of being a part of the whole Tri-County coalitions. I've actually was founder in each coalition that we have in Lee, Gilchrist, and Dixie. But we do sometimes partner with those other groups.
Well, I will certainly give the two ladies an A for their presentation. They did a good
Y'all
job.
did a good job.
Great job.
Very good public speaking.
All right. And then they are also the same, a part of our ambassador, Riley is, and Ms. Tammy Sugadala, who's one of our teachers and also a sponsor. She actually takes care of our ambassador for the tree.
Yeah, so I just teach these young people like Riley, who's one of mine, leadership skills. And so we usually have meetings throughout the month to talk about skills, and it goes along with the old character trait, but it's also the Florida State statute with the resiliency traits now. So each month is a character trait, and my ambassadors are supposed to emulate that trait throughout the month. So as a teacher, I've been working with Mr. Wells now for 6 years. So we've been doing this program together, so just wanted to share it with you.
This is what y'all had at the park one time that I came to, and then also the summertime I went to Otter Springs and you was working with
We do a leadership training
with the
in
group.
summer.
Yeah. I had popped in, they were doing leadership this past summer.
This is excellent for our community. It
Yeah.
really is. I'm glad y'all do it.
Yeah.
Kids need this nowadays.
Yep, and so that's our middle school, high school level kids, so we work with them. We, like I said, from that previous slideshow where we took those kids to Camp Blanding for a day, we took our high schools to Camp Blanding. They spent the full day out there. They did the confidence course. They worked with the National Guard counter drugs. People got some training from them. They spent a whole day out there. They got to end up in the lake, so they were really happy about that. We also have our Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence program, which is where we work with our elementary school students. Ms. Lauren Wood, who's back there, she's with us. She actually ministers that program, so she was the 4th and 5th grade at Bell Elementary and Trenton Elementary. And that program, Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence, it's really, I always tell people, we've been telling our kids, just say no and don't do drugs for the longest. So what we do with Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence is a little different. We talk about what you can do. We talk about goal setting, making good decisions. How can I help you get to where you want to be in life, as opposed to just telling you what you can't. You like to focus on what they can. And then we also, because, you know, a lot of people, when they hear Gilchrist Prevention Coalition, they think, oh, you guys is in school working with the kids in drug prevention. Yeah, partly. And we also have adult training that we do. I'm certified to teach mental health first aid for youth and adults. So we, over the past summers, I've helped the school district train their people. We've hosted classes here. We can teach mental health first aid to any group of people, and it's totally free of charge. There's no cost involved. So I teach that. We also have our monthly coalition meeting, which is the second Thursday of every month, 10 o'clock at the library. I always try to have somebody come in and talk to us, some new resource. Most recently, we had New Ways Counseling Center come in and talk about their new counseling program, which is a phenomenal program. They offer all types of mental health counseling, totally free of charge. And so a lot of people don't know it. Our Veterans Coffee and Pastry Fellowship, we do the last Wednesday of every month at American Grace. And what we do there is we have veterans, we come together, and it's really just like it is, like I said, it's a fellowship. We just sit down and we talk with veterans, share resources, share things that may be. American Grace has graciously allowed us to come in and let the veterans have some pastries and coffee one day a month, and we just kind of check in. Some of our current successes, if you look at these numbers, percentage of Gilchrist County youth who reported having used various drugs in their lifetime over the past year. If you look, starting in 2020, which was about when we got started, we actually started like 2018. But you can see it, at those numbers, there's been a decrease, a slight decrease in each number since we've been in existence. So we are making a difference.
Did you get this from the Florida Youth Survey?
Yes.
You know, we didn't do that this year. I reckon we wasn't chosen, our
Yeah,
district.
it's every other year, what it is, the even number years is when they do all the counties typically. And then on odd number years, they just do certain counties and then they only publish statewide. So only on the even numbers is when we get county specific data. So that's where all those numbers are. So that's specific to Gilchrist County. So it's got the past 30-day use. And if you look through those slides, and there's a copy of each one of these slides of each data in the books that I gave you, so you can go back and look and you can see just how we're making some progress, and we want to continue to do so. Okay, we start through here, try to get out you guys' way. All right, so join us in making a difference. So together, we can worry about meaningful change. We're here looking to, like I said, I wanted to really come in today and make sure that you guys understood what it was we were doing, how we're doing, and hear from some of our students that we've been working with. And Ms. Sulagalo, who's been with me from the outset with our ambassador program, she does a phenomenal job. Chet Collins is my ambassador guy up at Bell. He does a really, really good job with those kids. We have a couple of things that are happening soon. The health department has just received a grant to help do some community gardening. So we're actually looking at some locations now. We got a spot picked out for Bell where we can use, and I was talking with the principal at Trenton today. We're trying to get some areas where we can have students come out and grow some produce, and then we open that produce up to the community so the community can have access to it. So we're doing that. We also have our Rural Mental Health Summit that we're part of. And like I said, the veteran thing. Oh, and this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the train depot, we will be doing our biannual prescription drug take back in conjunction with Sheriff's Office in the DEA. So from 10 to 2, if you have, unused medication that didn't get used, rather than just tossing it, bring it to the train depot, drop it off to us, we will make sure it gets properly disposed and taken care of.
That's this Saturday from 10 to
This
2?
Saturday from 10 to 2. We are there twice a year, because I have funding to be there twice a year, so we're there in April, in October, we do the take back. And coalition, we actually pay for that by paying the overtime for the officers that have to be there to collect the drugs.
Good job, good work.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
good work.
I believe what people need in the world today the most is printed on the front of your hat.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, Jesus.
And I tell people all the time, I wear these hats and I wear them across, not for you, but to remind me of who I am.
That's right.
What I'm doing.
Mr. Wells,
In your community gardens, how big a space are you looking for?
It doesn't have to be a huge space, but we were trying to get somewhere close to campus, because we're gonna have to get the kids there to work the garden.
Okay.
So Bill is gonna let us use that front area in front of the old high school. And then, I did find out Bobby Crosby informed me that the school actually owns that land between where the softball field is.
And the senior center?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the principal there said she's gonna look into that. She's gonna check the facilities and maintenance. So those may be our two locations.
Okay.
And then we're gonna get the health department. They've already told me I just need to give them the shopping list, so we're gonna try to give them the shopping
Good.
list. And they'll get the stuff in and we'll get the kids out there turning over some dirt.
yeah, Mr. Wells, I was just gonna say, thank you for all that you're doing. We see you everywhere. I don't know how, I don't think you live in Gilchrist County, but you're here a lot.
No, sir, but I'm passionate about.
You have lots of good people in the community and business folks, and we appreciate everything you're doing.
Yes,
sir.
Good.
I
very
see him a lot on campus, so I see him.
Yeah.
I just saw him today, actually.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you for what you
I could
do.
use some help, but I'm, until I can get some help, and that was one of the things that, we have applied for certain grants and we continue to look for funding. But, at some point in time, I would really love it if the commission would maybe consider possibly putting us in your budget, or maybe if some excess opioid money come down to help us with opioid prevention, we can slot that right in with some of the things that we're already doing, so we can expand and do more. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Certainly do appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate those young kids back there and coming up and speaking, and doing such a great job. And I know two of the three teachers real well that, work with them, and they've got good mentors to work with back there. So
Yes,
we
sir.
appreciate them taking their time to do this also.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
okay, we had another time certain at 4:45. Thank y'all very much for coming. Appreciate it, all your work. Got another one at 4:45.
Yes, sir. Our next time certain, Mr. Brandon Stubbs with North Florida Professional Services will be helping us with that. As, if you'll remember, the board, asked or challenged us to go and look at some new language, for LDRs or to allow for, barn and accessory buildings to be built on private property without a dwelling, primary dwelling on it. So we've went and looked at that. We've worked on some language for it, and, Mr. Brandon, you wanna just kind of tell them what the basis is? You want me to tell them what the basis is, or how you wanna do it?
Yes, sir. Excuse me, I don't mind going through it.
Okay, I'll let you go through it.
Excuse me, my allergies are, I don't know if I told you, but last couple of weeks, these allergies are killing me. So, as Mr. Crosby was saying, a few months ago, y'all, come and basically decided y'all wanted to allow, accessory structures like pole barns and things in certain areas. And so, what I'm bringing before you tonight is the draft language we have set down, me and staff, and gone through the, what I've drafted, and agree that it's, good, but we want to get y'all's comments, make sure y'all are okay with it, to make any tweaks between now and when the final adoption hearing would be. And I'll go over, through that. So the first thing that we changed was the, general use section of this, because that kind of defines what the purpose and intent really is for this accessory use of structure section, which is section 7.01 of the land development regulations. So, originally, basically it said that, accessory uses were basically not allowed, it's like under, with a primary structure. So what we did was we basically amended to say that, accessory structures, are still accessory in all zone districts. However, provided by the, in the ESA two, the agricultural 2, agricultural 3, and agricultural 4 land use districts, an accessory structure shall be permitted prior to a principal use of structure on lots 5 acres or greater. And that would be your, basically your smallest lot. So even if you were in a A2 district and it was like a 2-acre lot or whatever, you still have to meet the 5-acre minimum. So, you know, you have the ESA and the ag district. And then of course, the question came up, well, what about river properties? And, you know, let's say they have a, RV or something at the river, they want a little shed for, you know, house equipment to maintain their property down there, which is understandable. If you have a property down there, you don't have to haul a lawnmower back and forth, or a tractor, or whatever it takes to maintain it. So to remedy that issue, we put in addition, for any lot located within the ESA 2 district or A2 land use district, which are located within 1,320 feet or a quarter mile of the Santa Fe or Swanee River, shall be permitted to erect one accessory structure prior to a principal use of structure. Now, obviously, that would also be, governed by the Florida Building Code. They got restrictions in there. And we did make mention of that in the actual code, so that people weren't just making, what we didn't want is people to, let's say, get ready to put a structure down at the river, and then have all these plans, and then they see this and go, oh, I could do that. And then when they get to the building code requirements, going, oh, well, I didn't know about that. So what we did was we put some language in here that kind of guided them to, the Florida Building Code and the ASCE 24 regulations. So they would be forewarned that even if they were trying to do this, there's still additional regulations that are not county regulated, that are state regulated, that the county is forced to regulate. So getting into the specific regulations, the first thing that we did was we added, the language that was originally up in generally, which dealt with, accessory structures shall not be located in the required front yard, side yard, or waterfront yards. However, may be located in the rear yards not less than 5 feet from the rear lot line. So that was just brought down from the previous section to the specific standards, because technically that's a standard that should have been in the standard section. The next two we kept saying, which is the housing of persons and the water-related activities portion. And then we struck the third, which was item C. So we struck that no separate accessory building shall be located within 5 feet of any building. And the reason why is the Florida Building Code already regulates where and how accessory structures must be set back from existing buildings. There's no reason to have two separate, have it regulated by Florida Building Code and then have something in your code here. So that's making you either choose to attach it to the breezeway, or if they want to separate it, they can separate it and follow the Florida Building Code set back to construction. Items D and E remain the same as what was originally what we put in there. And then we added, section F, which says accessory structures permitted prior to a principal use or structure in accordance with section 7.01.01 above shall be limited to electric service with a maximum of 60 amps. And the reason for this is 60 amps will accommodate any kind of RV or travel trailer that follows your RV standards for temporary uses. But what it does is it prohibits somebody from being able to get a 200 amp service and then later on converting this building into a dwelling without permitting.
They can run a pump or any type of equipment or something off of it.
They run a well, they can run their RV, they can, I mean, unless they're doing welding down there and had a big welder or something, but even your small welders, they can, you know. But, for the most part, any intents and purposes, they can run pretty much anything they need to run outside of the, home where they're running, certain like drives and things like that. And then the item G was the section we added to kind of forewarn people, let them know that there are additional regulations. And that is all accessory structure located within a FEMA designated flood hazard area shall be subject to applicable floodplain management standards established in section 5.01 of the Land Development Code, the Florida Building Code, and ASC 24. And again, that's just to, guide them to additional standards that they're going to have to meet, as well. So that pretty much, is all the changes we made. We went through it and we wanted to keep it simple but effective. We didn't want to over-regulate or under-regulate, and we feel like this is a good balance. But of course, if the board has any questions, concerns, or anything that you would like to see added or, amended that's in here, we'd be happy to, make those changes, and come back at the final reading and have those incorporated.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. They can build one, but it can't be in the front or the side, it'd have to be in the back?
Right, so that's one thing that.
But that was already in there.
Correct.
And they don't have to build something later on, it can just stay like that.
Well, that's what the question I was just fixing to say.
That's what
There's
I'm
no
kinda-
guidelines in this ordinance that says when they have to build the principal
That's what,
residence.
yeah, that's what I was, because it says you have to,
Cause it's all dictated on, they can put that there prior to a
prior to
principal.
it.
Yeah.
So how long would that be? So they have to they have to build a home there, correct?
What if they don't?
They don't, and the reason why
But
that
it
is
says
still,
that though.
no, it says it shall not be located within those yards, but if there's not a structure there, it cannot be located in a front yard because there's not a front yard.
It says shall be permitted prior to a principal use or structure.
Work structure, yeah.
So
Correct.
that means they can put this up, but before they build a structure or,
Correct, so they can put up prior, so, that means that they can put up prior to any other structure being there, but that doesn't mean they have to put one there.
okay, all right, that was my question. So they can just put this and not have to ever worry about building or anything.
Correct, and so if they have a river lot and they want to put a shed there and they bring their camper back and forth on the weekends or
Okay.
something like that.
Pitch a tent or whatever.
Right, yeah, I mean, they don't necessarily have to, and I think that was the intent was, for people who live away, they'll have somewhere to be able to store their stuff. Gilchrist, several other counties around here, I know there's a lot of people who live like out north and they come down here during the winter and they spend the winters here and they may have a barn or shed or stuff, they store stuff in, so they don't have to haul back and forth. And so it would be accommodating for those people as well as the person who's coming in here and saying, hey, I wanna build a house, I wanna be able to store my equipment here, I wanna build a barn, and come back a year later and I wanna build my house. So, it would be either way accommodating.
Yeah, I don't want to try to influence you because you are the legislative body. The only issue that I've ever had with this, and I think Mr. Stockman was the same, and is the enforcement aspect. And I think Brandon and I have talked about that because once the structure is located on, the accessory structure is located on the property, it's hard to police them coming in and unpermitting, without the permitting, putting sides on it, putting a bathroom in it, putting, you know, and all of a sudden now they've got a residential dwelling unit rather than an accessory structure.
But that dwelling would only have 60 amps of service.
That's correct.
Yeah, but that would fall, if we find out that's happening, wouldn't we get code enforcement involved then?
But that's what I'm saying. You gotta have
Hard to
an
police
active,
it, though.
you gotta have an active code that's riding around looking for those things to enforce it.
Yeah, Mr. Lang, I understand, probably not as good as Gene or you, but I feel like we penalize those people that otherwise are doing things right if we don't allow something. You know, they own the land and we're telling them they can't put it up unless they have a principal structure, and I know you understand that. It
You
just,
know, well, I agree with it in concept. I really do, that they ought to be able to put a shed out there. I'm just saying that I'm afraid people may abuse that.
yeah,
You're
that's the
gonna
other
have to have
side of it.
a police force to regulate it, you know, because you're gonna start getting a lot of, and we get them now.
They already got them.
We already get the complaints now when they're not allowed, so that's what I'm saying.
And it's something that all the counties in this area face, because
That's right.
you'd be shocked how many people will throw a shed out there from one of these shed companies and
They live in it.
no, they're living in it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no permits, there's no nothing.
Mm-mm.
And the only reason why they find out is either a neighbor calls and complains, or it's all, shows up on the tax roll.
Or they do the same thing with the RVs.
Yeah.
Where they get caught is they would come in, then they come in and want a permit to do something else, and then they go discover that
Yeah.
that accessory building never had a permit to start with.
So they want to come in and get a well or.
That's
or
what I'm
or they
saying.
want 200 amp power service, that's what you usually get called.
A 60 amp isn't cutting it. We need a better power service. It's a tough situation, but I understand, you know, especially with the RV people, you know, that want a shelter over their RV. I understand that 100%.
We've kind of said and tossed it around and looked at it from a code violation standpoint, and really, the pros and cons is, we can't really determine whether it create more work, less work. The thing would be about the same. I think your situation is just going to change, where you're going to alleviate some stuff because people now they can do it, so they're not trying to do it illegal. But you may have some people violating that, so I don't,
You will.
you know, it's hard to say, you know, which way that will go. You know, I do know that we've had a lot of people come in, they bought 5 acres, they plan to, it might be 10 years or 15 before they plan, but they'd like to have a well, they'd like to have a little barn to keep their tractor, because they come here and spend some time and garden, and it's kind of hard to tell people, well, it's yours, but you know, they're not really doing anything to hurt it in that way. And yes, but I do agree. I think it'll work. But one of the statements I did want to make clear, this has nothing to do with agriculture at all. So ag is not changing in any kind of way. That there's state laws with ag, this doesn't have anything to do. So this will not affect the ag situation at all. This is strictly, basically, non-agricultural property or non-ag use.
Yeah, it might be zoned ag, but it's not done by that.
It'd be non-ag use, so, yeah.
The other thing is it still have to meet state building code, right? It's not, I mean, I know there's another discussion about smaller projects, and I think, Tommy, you're looking into and having
We're gonna have a
discussion.
workshop on that, I think, soon.
Workshop,
Yeah,
that's right.
that'll be.
Well,
fun.
and I'll tell you, to build some of these accessory buildings, just a pole barn, if you've priced one lately, they're pretty pricey.
Oh, yeah.
They're very pricey, so.
For sure.
Even these little mobile, site buildings, they're getting pretty pricey too.
They are, so, you know, there's a lot, but again, I agree with what we've said. I think it was said in previous meetings that A
Yeah,
lot
I-
of people want to do it right, so let's try to give them an opportunity to do it the right way.
I like what you got wrote here, but like you said, I guess I don't understand if you don't have nothing on there, what do you determine the front, the back, or the side? If there's already a structure there, you could determine that, but.
Yeah, right, and the reason why that was left in there is because we had to leave it in there because if you have a house, then you can't put it in the front or side, but one of the things that's, you'll have to keep in mind, and we'll have to make sure we tell people, and we talk about putting it on the application itself, is when you build an accessory structure, you need to understand that where you build it, where you place it, can limit what you can build in the future. So if
Yeah.
you take
Right,
that-
you place it right in the middle of your lot, you've
You've had it.
formed yourself to put in the front, right in front of it,
Yeah.
because you can't have it,
Can't
can't put it behind it.
You know, can't put the house behind it, so.
Okay.
And we can address that through the zoning process when they
Right.
do the zoning, and we can
Right.
put it in the application
Okay.
so that notifies them of what they're facing. And if we see something they draw, here's the road, and there's only one ingress egress, and they put it in the front, we can reach out to them and say, wait, we've got to readdress this, so,
Right.
and look at it. And there's,
And I'm like Commissioner Smith, if they own a piece of property, you're gonna have some bad guys. I don't care what you do. You're gonna have people try to do this, try to do that. But I don't wanna punish the people that's trying to do it right either. You got 10 trying to do it right and one trying to do it wrong, I'd rather reward the 10 that's trying to do it right and catch the one that's doing wrong.
Probably it's like criminal law, do you punish the criminal, or do you punish
Right.
the people, or you
Don't-
make it illegal? to get
Don't
stuff?
punish the people that are doing things
Yeah.
correctly.
And this will help a lot of people, because they are people who look down the future, they buy a piece of property, they're not even retired yet. But one day, they're gonna build a house on that piece of property. I talk to people all the time and say, we're gonna build a house, but it's probably gonna be 5 or 10 years down the road.
Yeah, and when you look at accessory uses, the real intent of making accessory uses accessory and all the little nuances and regulations that you have is intended for aesthetics. And when you get into bigger lots, you're not talking about these little 1 acre, half acre lots or smaller, where if you were to put a shed on it, it might be a complete eyesore to a neighbor, but if they're on 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres, you know, you may not even know they're out there. I mean, unless it's completely, vacant, but even so, it's a little bit different from a standpoint of if you're putting a bunch of, sheds on single family residential lots versus, larger 5 acre plus lots.
Also, making it adapt with the building codes is a good idea, because you don't want the staff to have to look and say, is this county or is this state code, is this, which one applies here? And if you make them both the same pretty much, then you don't have that issue.
And that's just, reference that code, that way if it changes in the future, the state changes it. I've seen a lot of codes in the past where they take codes and then mirror it in their LDRs just because they feel like, oh, well, it helps the applicant know what those codes are without going to state documents or whatever, but when the state changes their documents, what happens? Well, over time, then you got 20 sections of code that don't comply with state statute, and but you always reference the statutory reference as amended, it just makes it a lot easier.
That does lead me to one question, if I may.
But
Are we limiting the number of accessory structures they can put on the property through this, land
It says one.
amendment?
Yeah, it says one,
Where's that, Brandon?
7.01.0, where it says generally, the last line says, Santa Fe or
One
Swanee River shall be
Yeah.
permitted to erect one accessory structure prior to
Yeah.
the principal use of structure.
correct, so that's anything along the,
But
Those are
only on those that are within a quarter of a mile to the river,
correct, those are, yeah.
not on the 5
Not
acres.
on-
You could have as many as you wanted on 5 acres or more.
Correct, so if you had a shop and then a pole barn or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't know if they wanted that or didn't want it, but I wanted to point that out.
Well, yes, the ones that would be located along the river or within the 13 and 20 of the river.
Would be
that
limited.
be more than one, but, it's my understanding that y'all did not want to limit that for the rest. Now, we can go and say that if that's what you want, or you can say no more than 2 or 3, but, that's a completely how y'all feel is best.
I like it the way it is.
So the way this work is, we would, advertise this for a second reading or,
Yeah, I think what Brandon's gonna read a resolution to you in just a moment, but we get that passed as the planning board. Then he's gonna come back with an ordinance that he's gonna read, and I think that ordinance has to be, read twice.
Correct, yes, and because it deals with what is permitted, under state statute, anytime you deal with, an ordinance or LDR change or that deals with what you can and can't do with your property or forestry periods where, you know, like some of your land use amendments only require one. So we're making sure we do the first reading and then the final adoption reading. So if there's a pleasure of the chair, I will read the resolution by title only.
Okay.
Resolution number PV LPA LDC 2025-13, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending amending ordinance amending ordinance number 93-01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, serving as the Planning and Zoning Board of Gilchrist County, Florida, and the local planning agency of Gilchrist County, Florida, relating to a text amendment to the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application by the Board of County Commission of Gilchrist County, Florida, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, approval of an amendment to the Gilchrist County Land Development Code, amending section 7.01 entitled Accessory Uses and Structures, fulfilling all resolutions in conflict and providing for an effective date. And if the board has any additional questions, and then, we can open it up to public comment.
Anybody got any questions? Anybody from the public like to speak on resolution 2025-13? Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Thomas and a second Commissioner Sharon to, approve resolution number PZ LPA LDC 2025-13. Any more discussion?
I do have one question, just on the titling. Titling of it says resolution number PZ LPA LDC 2025-13. And if this is approved, then we're going to the ordinance. And in the ordinance title, it just says LDC 2025-01. Is that different than what we're doing here?
Yes,
This is 2025-05 is ordinance, so
the resolutions have a different number than the ordinances.
oh, what he's saying is this is LDC, the application number is 2025-01. So what you're looking at is not the ordinance number, that's the actual petition number.
Okay.
Sorry, confusion, but yeah, it's ordinance 2025-05, but the petition number is LDC 2025-01.
Okay.
Any more
A
discussion?
lot of numbers.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
And since it's after 5 o'clock, I'll go through the ordinance and I'll read the ordinance by title only, and I would like to enter my testimony on the record from the P and Z into the ordinance. The ordinance is ordinance number 2025-05, an ordinance of the Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93-01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, relating to an amendment to the text of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application LBC 2025-01 by the Board of County Commissioners, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County and amending section 7.01 entitled Accessory and Structures, and providing for severability, repealing all ordinance and conflict, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2025-05.
So we passed a resolution, now we got an ordinance.
That's correct.
Open up for public comment.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2025-05.
second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Sharon, to, approve ordinance number 2025-05 and a second by Commissioner Smith. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to file a business impact estimate. It's not necessary in accordance with the statute, but we do it customarily to eliminate any procedural issues that might arise in the future. So when we do an ordinance, we file this, and I don't think Brandon had one of those with his, but I prepared one. Okay, and I'll file with there.
Okay.
We anticipate in May 19th, we'll have the final guarantee.
May 19th.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brandon.
Okay. We're back to, Mr. Bobby. Do you have anything else?
No, sir, that concludes my report. I only had the one item. Thank you.
Mr. Duke?
No, under the miscellaneous section of my attorney's report, you'll see, we have been approached by Mr. Nelson Londe. He's from, Boston, Massachusetts. He's owned a 1 acre strip of land. It's 18 feet wide by a mile long since 1958. And they've stopped collecting taxes. They won't even send him a tax bill on it. But anyway, he wanted to donate that to the county, so and he called Bobby first, and then Bobby got me involved in it. And in the meantime, and it's been going on since 2023. And in the meantime, once all this got going on, one of the adjoining property owners sued him for an easement because his land lies apparently contiguous with Northeast 70th Avenue. Is that what it is, Bobby?
I think that, yes, that's correct.
You'll see the blue line. It's south of 340. I wish it didn't have all those different
That's a problem.
numbers on there. That's the road. And
And where's his property at from there?
Right there.
he's the
Yeah.
blue
Right
line
there,
next to Northeast 70th Avenue.
Okay.
It's unusual by him, creates liability for him, but people are going across his little strip of land to get onto theirs. But he had a neighbor that didn't have a legal way to get over there, so they sued him for an easement. Well, he's holding off agreeing to the settlement on that easement, subject to whether or not the county will take that strip of land off his hands. And so I had told him, he's a real interesting guy. He's actually a professor at the University of Massachusetts, a philosophy professor, and very articulate and
How did
very,
he get a hold of
very-
how did he get a hold of a lot that's 18
very,
feet wide and a
he
mile long?
inherited it. As a matter of fact, I think his ancestors or predecessors in title bought some of that adjoining land from Gilchrist Realty Company back in the 50s. And that little strip was left, and I think they just gave it to them, and he inherited it when they passed away, but he's had it since 1958. But,
Yeah.
he's a true, Bostonian, I mean, he has that New England, accent. But I told him that I'd bring this to the board, and I've discussed it with Bobby, and I'll let Bobby speak for himself. But if the board chose to do this, I'd want a title search just to make sure that there is no issue with his ownership. He would need to go ahead and grant the easement to Mr. Chiponis, who was the man that sued him, dismiss that lawsuit, and then we would effect an appropriate deed from him to the county when he met that criteria. But I'll let Bobby speak on it if he would. He's more familiar with that area than I am, but there's a survey, Caitlin, if you'll go up to the next. He's paid his taxes. There's the survey he's got done.
Bobby, is this what we call Simmonsville? Is that the Simmonsville Road? I know 80th is Blue Springs, across from Blue Springs, but back up to 70th, is that what we call, by the water plant there, is that what we call Simmonsville Road?
I'm not sure of that title, but I do know we can use the additional.
And the survey indicates, I think, in my humble estimation, I think our county road has merged over into his 18-foot strip. So it's adjacent, so we'd have 36 feet essentially.
So if we ever decide to pave it, we'd already have right of way.
With that, and if we have any water issues, you've got places to
Right.
put
To drain it
retaining
off.
and that type of thing. Because of the design of this, just running parallel to our road. Like you said, we've probably already graded over into it some anyway. It does create an issue because, and what brought up this issue he has now, we had someone come in, they want to get a driveway permit, get access to their property. Naturally, we can't give a driveway permit across anyone else's property. This property's not usable. Well, you know, one of the things we thought about was just quit paying the taxes and the county winds up with it. Well, when you don't pay taxes on it, you can't quit paying the taxes.
That was my brainstorming the last time I talked to him. I said, just, if
Yeah.
you're worried about it, just don't pay the taxes and the clerk will get it. And it'll, escheat or go on the land of I said, well, don't we have to pay taxes for that? Nobody can get a tax deed because they're not charging taxes.
But
I said, that's an interesting concept. I've never heard
I
that.
think I had this conversation with a gentleman about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
The
it
same-
started a long time ago.
Yeah,
But this actually is a piece of property that would be beneficial
Yeah.
to the county. It's not gonna cause any issues. If anything, it can be a big help in the future. And the other thing it'll help is just those ingress egresses there. If any more come up, then we can permit them.
and
Don't have
you
any
see,
issue.
and Bobby, take your pointer and show all those little blocks that are to the right of the
All
road.
right, there's one, I think. There's
All
one,
these
there's
people are
one.
coming off
one,
our
one,
road and going
one.
across his property to
Yeah.
get to their property.
Yeah.
And people cross our property every day. I mean, that's why we give driveway permits, because they have to cross our property.
I'd be interested to see exactly where it's at. I mean, I live right in that area. I'm trying to picture in my mind exactly.
County Road three
You
forty.
may not have realized it that way because it may look like it already belongs to.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's directly across from the water plant.
Yeah,
directly across the
Directly
water
across,
plant.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the road directly across from the
See,
water
that's what
plant.
we call Simmonsville, but that road goes in there and then it takes a right and it goes back in there a pretty good ways.
Yeah, it's actually, the actual
There's
property is a
Northeast
little
40.
bit further down the road. It's not right at it's not at 340.
It don't start at 340. It goes further back.
Sand pit, right, or sand
Yeah,
mine.
it's past the sand
Yeah.
pit where it starts.
Does it have a fence line already on it, on this property line?
yeah. I don't
Just
think,
wondering
I
about
can't
that.
say, but I
I
don't
just
think
didn't
so.
know
I
the
don't think there's
people
any
that
fences there.
Have lived there so long, they've just assumed that 18 feet was theirs already.
Well, we've got those all over the county,
Yeah.
you know, where people's already fenced, but it's okay until, if we ever get ready to, do something with the road, then they've got to move their fence.
Okay.
And normally, we've been able to get those covered in the
So-
grants too, you know, so we have several of those. You'll ride along, you'll see a fence in, then a fence out, and a fence in. That's some of those properties, but they've just been fenced so long, is why they're fenced.
I'll make a motion that we approve the land offer,
Yeah, second.
Is that gonna be subject to?
subject to the what is it, title search?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. To the stipulations, the title search, dismiss the lawsuit. They
Yep.
can go ahead and give his easement to Mr. Chaponi. And then Chaponi, if he hadn't brought the lawsuit, he would have had access to the roadway anyway. but
Absolutely.
That's neither here nor there. And then we'll get a deed for the
Yep.
things.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Sharon and a second from Mr. Smith to accept the offer, subject to the title search and the lawsuit being dismissed.
Yep,
And that's an 18-foot easement.
18 by 1 mile.
Wow, okay. Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. My uncle planted tobacco one time. He had 6 rows a mile long.
Really?
Yes, sir.
They'd like to kill you to walk that whole mile.
And my dad used to plant peas and make us harvest them. He'd go out in a 180-acre field and make the rows a mile long. I thought, man, just make it smaller, will you? Just combine it. No,
Accomplish
make
it
them the whole length.
Okay, I think that's all of our time certains. Do you have anything else, Mr. Attorney?
Not unless you have questions for me, Mr. Chairman.
No, sir. Okay, Mr. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item is, I wanted to take a look at, specifically June, board meetings. And I wanted to see if we could possibly look at some alternative dates for the second meetings, in June and July. Proposing in June, moving it from June 23rd to June 26th. That's the
Right.
Thursday.
Well, I thought it was June 16th.
Say June twenty-sixth,
16th.
we're gonna be at our county,
But-
Annual conference.
our annual conference.
But June 16th.
Actually,
Third Monday.
yeah, June 16th was what I was hoping to move it from, either to June 23rd was what I was gonna say. If we did the 23rd, the city of Trenton does have a meeting that day, that evening, so we'd have to do something earlier, or potentially the 26th, at a regular 4 o'clock
Yeah, but
time.
nobody will be here on the 26th because they'll all be at conference.
With the 23rd, when do you guys leave for conference?
Tuesday. We have an
Tuesday.
ethics training on Tuesday. Yeah.
So could we look at the 23rd, maybe for an earlier meeting?
Yeah, I can do the 23rd.
And the city of Trenton has their meeting at 5:30 that same day.
What time would we like to propose that?
Their meeting's at 5:30?
Their meeting's at 5:30, so
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
could,
2 o'clock, that's fine with me, yeah.
2 o'clock, June the 23rd.
June the 23rd at 2 o'clock, fine with me.
And if we don't have a lot of business, we could move business to the next meeting or.
Yeah, we've done that before and during the
and
summertime.
I had thought about proposing just not having the second meeting. The only challenge with that is June is a 5-week month. So if you don't have your second meeting, it's gonna be, it's a pretty good while. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, be 5 weeks until your next meeting. We could do it tentatively, though. I mean, if the board wanted to,
Fine.
we could do it tentative, and if, there's no need to have the meeting, then we could just cancel it.
Okay.
We're gonna have to start some budget workshops somewhere in that neighborhood too.
That's correct.
We wanna start a little earlier than we did last year.
So you definitely want to cancel the June 16th.
Yes, sir.
So for July, you said there's a problem in July also?
Same thing, second meeting in July. Our regular meeting would be the 7th and the 21st. That's actually the meeting I was proposing if we were gonna have the second meeting in July, was requesting maybe the 24th, that Thursday.
That would work with me.
That would work for me. I may miss the first meeting in July because I have planned a retirement party for my wife in Alaska, and I will not be here for the first 2 weeks of July.
Nice.
So, I will probably miss that first meeting, but I will be back by the 24th.
That's the way to do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
She's
Don't
retiring
tell,
this year
don't tell my
after
wife.
30-something years of education, she's getting out.
What did you get?
I didn't get nothing. I retired in 2020 and they gave me a card and said, listen, you can go to all the home football games at Bell in Gilchrist County. And I said, oh, okay, and that's what I got.
Well, it's gonna cost you $500 for meeting the last workshop we had. And now you're gonna meet us.
I'm going down another
I'm
one.
just kidding.
Just put it on my bill.
So just as a confirmation, we're gonna cancel the June 16th meeting and tentatively schedule June 23rd at 2 o'clock unless,
Okay,
June
23rd.
23rd,
Okay.
unless,
June.
June, I got it, sorry.
unless we find that there's no reason to have that meeting, we'll cancel it. We'll cancel the July 21st meeting and move it to the July 24th at 4 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock
Yes, sir.
and on the
Okay.
June 23rd meeting,
That'll be at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Okay,
Good.
works for me. July the 24th, right?
So
July 24th.
Sounds like a winner.
Next item is, at the last meeting, there was, more conversation about, the Florida Doge initiative with the state of Florida. And, so I was asked to kind of look into it. What I've seen is that some counties are using like a draft resolution that the state basically provided. And it basically just states that, the county supports the DOGE's efforts to identify unnecessary spending, create efficiencies, and save taxpayer dollars. that in good faith, we would facilitate the mission of the team, and that the board would work in collaboration with the Doge team to conduct a comprehensive review of the county's budget and operations and provide a report to the team by June 30th of this year. Number of other things. I mean, it represents who would be appointed to serve as the point of contact for inquiries. So some counties have kind of just followed that general line that the state provided. Other counties have chosen to go a little bit different route, and Hillsborough and Manatee County have kind of gone a different route with it. They're basically creating their own committee appointed by the board, that would basically, in essence, kind of report to the state. So anyway, just
And how many
For
other
your
counties
information.
did it the first way?
I don't know how many, there hasn't been a list provided, other than that, the post that you showed at the last meeting. There hasn't really been anything that shows exactly what counties are participating. I know, as some of the smaller counties was Walton, Jefferson.
I've seen some emails about it, and
Yeah, I would like. to
plus,
do
if we
that.
did a resolution, it would tell the governor that
Yeah.
we're willing to.
Yeah, I would like to do that, and let them come and do it, let them do it.
Basically, the resolution just saying that we okay with what
Yeah,
they're
we
doing.
okay if they wanna come in.
We've had correspondence with the governor's office already, and we
We
provide
have.
financial information, and so we're already cooperating. This
Correct.
is just publicly acknowledged
Yep.
that
Yes.
we're really.
And so I've seen a second letter that went out, but it didn't actually go to us. I'm assuming it just went out to the counties that have responded, like with a resolution similar to this. And it, requested additional information. I think the only thing that is a little challenging is the speed at which they're requesting some of the information. They sent this out to some counties back Friday, the 11th, and we're hoping to get results from that within 3 weeks. Some of it's fairly easy to produce. Some of it was a little bit more complicated, and, with limited staff, be a little bit harder to make that kind of turnaround. Some of the larger counties have, large staffs that work on stuff like this, and, so anyway.
Just for information, they've been talking about it on my weekly updates from Florida Association of Counties. And Doge is on their third director, so they've had 3 different directors so far. And one of the things they're trying to do is get some clarifications, because they send and ask information from the counties, and they're not clarifying whether they want that just from the county, or do they want to include all the constitutionals in it. So there's still some things they're not clearing up real well yet. I'm not saying don't support the program. I'm just saying that they're still trying to get some of those things through Florida Association of Counties, outlined a little bit better, so that they can provide that information to the counties to help with, the process.
Well, couldn't that be a simple email? Do you want us to include the, constitutional officers if they ask?
I don't know what Doge is gonna ask for.
Yeah.
That's,
I don't
they
have a
haven't
problem
clarified that.
With, participating.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is that kind of the board's directive, is look at doing the kind of the generic resolution that was provided?
I'll make a motion that we, do is it the resolution?
Mhm.
The resolution for the Doge?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion from Commissioner Sharon and a second from Commissioner Smith that we, I guess, would instruct the attorney to draft a resolution supporting the Doge, effort by the governor, and bring it back to the board for approval. That sound right?
Yep.
Good. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Good.
Todd, can you
Just
furnish,
wanna- I
Todd,
wanna-
can you furnish me that information?
I can, yes, sir. So we'll just bring that back at the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Clerk?
That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We'll go to commissioner reports then, Commissioner Sharon.
I mean, I've had, issues coming up, but I've dealt with them, so I've called Mr. Crosby or Rodney and dealt with them.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
So along those same lines of the financial evaluation, I mentioned earlier that Bobby Rush with the solid waste that did the evaluation and comparing us to some surrounding counties. What about us doing that for every department, every office that we budget? And it would be a matter of just taking our budget for that office and dividing it by the population. I mean, you guys in the financial area know and be able to look at and evaluate the best way to do that. I'm just thinking, if we're lower in solid waste, we could be lower in lots of other things. That'd be good to know. Or we might be higher. That would be good to know. And I don't know.
And you're talking road department, sheriff department, all departments?
You're ahead of us as usual. Yeah.
As usual.
That's good. Thank you, Victor. All right. That's good. Yeah, thank you. The other question I had, I know we decided some time ago to try to hire a building official in the building department, Bobby, for that second vacant position, and I know it's probably hard to find somebody. I'm just curious of where we are with that, and the reason I ask is I've had some folks ask about, how do we, what we're planning for that, and so it'd just be good to be able to tell people
This is that position we approved.
yeah, it'd be, the idea was to find a retired or a less experienced building official at a lower rate, but still high enough to be able to answer questions when somebody comes in related to the building code or that kind of thing.
We received a few applications. None of them even meet the qualifications. We did receive one where a gentleman met the qualifications and was interested. He was older, and then he had some personal things come up, and he had to decline the interview. But we just recently, a gentleman talked with us today who is completing an application. He said he'd either get it done today or tomorrow. He is actively a building official right now, so we hope to get his information and see how that goes, and if everything looks good. Talking to him sounds good, but get all the information, check him out. Maybe in the next 30 days to 45 days, we'll have someone.
Yep, no, I appreciate that. That's all I had.
Okay, Commissioner Martin?
Thank the road department for cleaning the tree up in front of the Smith residence here at Hart Springs. I appreciate them doing that, and I had a few complaints about still some limbs on the side of the road that when they graded, they ended up grabbing one of them and it pulled it out in the middle of the road, and then they ran over and it got stuck under their car. And I said, this is not something that's a big problem. It's a one-time deal where a grader hit something on the side of the road and it stuck to the back of his grader, and he didn't realize he pulled it out the side of the road, but we got that taken care of. I know we're dry right now and the roads are dusty, but everything else has been good. I know that the springs are busy, and sun is busy also, and so I think we're getting ready to start feeling the heat of summer, but everything's good.
Commissioner Thomas?
I talked to Rodney today. I've had some calls about watermelon season coming up. Maybe getting ahead of the game to get these roads and trimmed and rock for the big watermelon shed instead of rushing to it. But he agreed to try to do that, and I think he said he'd had a call or two.
Well, I had one other thing I want to do when he's done. I'm sorry.
Get rid of them.
Go ahead.
I had a request from some residents. They said the only church in Gilchrist County that doesn't have a paved road to it is that Seventh-day Advent Church. And I've had people wondering if there was a way we could, they said the road's really, really busy, a lot of people on it, and,
Talking about Jennings Lake?
Jennings Lake.
Mhm.
I didn't know there was a possibility of, I didn't figure we could pave it, but if we got any of those millings and we got that milling machine, there might be a way to improve that road just a little bit, going back around by Jenny Springs area and out by that church and through by the cemetery and around some areas like that. I didn't know if the millings were available or.
You
but
said
there
Jenny
was-
Springs or Jennings
Not,
Lake?
Jennings
not
Lake.
Jenny's Lake,
Okay,
excuse me,
that's
not
fine.
Jenny Springs, Jenny Lake, Jenny's Lake out by the Seventh-day Advent Church. So that had been mentioned to me, more than once.
Let us look at it, because I know that road narrows up quite a bit. We have some water issues right there, but I can't remember who owned that property right beside it. I think he did, so he might work with us a little bit on that. And then, but now you also have Riverside Baptist up on for 138
Yeah.
that has a dirt road going in. There may be one I'm forgetting, but.
Yeah, that was it. I couldn't remember which
Yeah.
ones did and which one didn't, but that was brought to my attention and, they talk about how busy the road is, that there's just traffic in there, in and out of there all the time, and I thought, well, maybe we need to start looking at that area, and see if there's something we can do.
And Riverside Baptist, we haven't spoke with them yet, because they haven't started, was one of the roads y'all asked me to talk with Anderson about, that when they start milling 138, to see if they can do that church right there.
They're pretty close to the road. They're just off of it a little bit,
About a
right?
quarter of a mile.
About a quarter
Yeah,
mile.
it's not as bad as the Jennings Lake, so, I was down there yesterday, actually, and it's, really very, very dusty, which all of them are,
Yeah.
and pretty narrow through there, but yeah, let's take a look at it, because I think we're probably just gonna have to come in and go maybe to the church and a little bit down the cemetery. I'm not sure about being able to go all the way around, but we'll take a look at that and get you a report back on it.
I don't think
Okay.
you could go around.
I don't
because of
think we
waterfall, so you can get to the cemetery.
Yeah, but we could get to the cemetery and at least to the
Yes,
second
past it.
entrance
Get
of
to
the
the church
cemetery.
anyway, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That it? Okay. What they're doing out here, Bobby?
Parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, somebody asked, and I told
They've,
you.
a lot of the employees park right there, especially like Michael's employees and all.
Mhm.
And they've asked us probably for a year now if we could maybe put a parking lot. And we've also noticed that when it gets really busy up here, a lot of people park there and go in the offices here. So we were taking some of those millings and just putting in a parking area right there for them.
Good, good idea.
Yeah.
I park over there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good
what we
idea.
were feeling was not an earthquake. It was
And we're not in California.
There, yeah.
Yes.
The only thing I have, the roads at Spring Ridge seems to be, finished, pretty much. They're good, they're beautiful, they're nice, real nice. I've had nothing but positive, I've had no complaints whatsoever, so they look real good. Appreciate the, everybody participating and getting them done, and the people ought to be happy. I did talk to the guy at the Dollar General, they're still not open. The last time I reported was April the 15th, well, that's come and gone. He said they were waiting on, and he's not the one building it, but he is participating in doing some of the contract work. He said they're waiting on a valve for the fire suppression to go inside that building. It's about 2 weeks out, he said. Once they get that in there and get it approved, then they're gonna move forward. And he talked like maybe the middle of May to most likely the end of May, they are gonna try to be open. He said Dollar General was putting a lot of pressure on them to get it open. And I told him, well, the residents are putting a lot of pressure on us to get it open. So, that's where we at right now. He couldn't make no promises, but he said that that's the information that he would give me. That's all I have. Anybody got anything else? Public participation? Anybody want to participate? Okay.
Move with adjourn.
Okay. Well, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye.